Another thing that came out this past week is the Pro Tour announced their updated points and awards for the 2022 season. So starting with the points, they said Silver Series events will be awarded 25% of standard Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Series points. Pro Tour playoff events will be awarded 125 points. And majors this year are going to be included and awarded 150 points, 150% of the points. To qualify for the first Pro Tour playoff...
That's the kind of scale that PDGA need to be using.
Yeah. To qualify for the first Pro Tour playoff event in Green Mountain Championship, players must fall within the top 100 MPO or top 50 FPO. Then the top 64 MPO and top 32 FPO will qualify for the second playoff event, the MVP Open. Then the Tour Championship will maintain the same format with 32 MPO and 16 FPO, competing over 4 rounds with the top 4 scores from each round advancing. For the 2022 Tour Championship, the top 32 MPO and top 14 FPO will automatically qualify and granted buys. I think they messed up there. No, top 30. I messed up reading it. Top 30 MPO and top 14 FPO will be automatically. So there's 2 spots that aren't automatic buys. So the 2 final spots in each division will be determined by a play-in event to be held the Wednesday prior to the start of the event. 31st and 32nd seed on the MPO side and 15th and 16th seed on FPO will automatically gain entry to the play-in event and will be joined by 4 additional players in each division. These 4 play-in spots will be reserved for any player who won a Pro Tour Elite Series event or major but didn't qualify points-wise. And there's also...
I don't know if there'll be any like that.
Probably not, but then they said then those spots, if the spots are still available, the invitation is passed to the next player in the point standing. So basically, it's like a bubble play-in event.
Yeah,
so it's either going to be cool. If someone like shows up, isn't doing a full tour, but wins one of the Pro Tour events, then they have a chance to still get to the Pro Tour finale. Or if not, then it's like a bubble of like, if you're right on the edge, you still have a chance to get in.
I love the playoff format this year. I love that they're narrowing down the field. My only wonder, and I still can't decide from the language they're using, is so they're basing this off the FedEx Cup playoffs on the PGA Tour. And in that, what happens is, so when you take like the top 100 into the first playoff event, and then you cut the field down into the top 60, it's not based on where you finished in that last event. It's not like the top 60 spots from that event. It's the points. It's still based on points. Like Correct. It's still the top. So I'm hoping that's the way they're going to do it.
That's what they're saying.
That's what they're saying. Yeah. Okay, so that makes more sense. That way you can't have like now with 60 spots, you're not going to see Paul McBeth come in 68th and then get kicked out. But I like to see it that way. I wish honestly that's
why they're making the playoff events worth more.
Right.
Too.
Right.
So that you have a chance to earn more points
that
against
makes
people.
Sense. I love the playoff format. I wouldn't mind even one more event in there. I wouldn't mind going like maybe like 100, like 160, 40, and then throwing it to the playoffs. I just love like the cutthroatness of like the playoff format, where like especially when like Maple Hill is only top 60. So like if you want to go to that really like beloved tournament, you've got to be good enough.
Yeah, and it's gonna make the tournament's a lot more fun to watch because you're going to have, like people are going to be in the race for the player of the year and stuff like that, but you're also going to have a separate race, which is getting onto the bubble to possibly make it to the tour championship or guaranteeing your spot.
Right.
So it gives, again, more storylines to follow.
It brings more, now that you kind of call it the playoffs, you immediately bring more spotlight to that tour championship. Like hopefully they're really tracking that and like drawing
I'm sure they will.
Because that is like that's a fun thing.
Because then you also it's another storyline to follow up to Worlds of like a player who shows up, plays a few events, and like is able to sneak into the top 100.
Right.
And they're like, hey, with that, they've now made, now he's in 58th place. He might be, if he has a good performance at the 2 playoff events, he might be able to sneak into the tour championship.
Qualifying stuff, like with the USDGC, what they do, and cuts and things of that nature just make everything way more interesting. Yeah,
because there's way more storylines to follow.
Exactly.
And it's not just who wins week in and week out.
You're not just looking at, who's going to compete for the win. You're like, who's going to get into that last spot. And like, there's always, because like, even if there's a runaway for the win, that spot in the middle, there's always going to be a tug of war.
There's something, people are fighting for something at all times.
Right.
That also like enhances the like underdog nature in disc golf.
Yeah.
Because like right now, you essentially just have like, if you have a player like Jackie Chin, who in Taiwan beat James Conrad, Nate Perkins, like a few, I think Barzy might have been there. If you have like a breakout player like that, that's a storyline. Or if a player like makes a lead card or chase card you haven't heard of before. But now this gives like a whole nother storyline to follow of like making the tour championship is getting harder and harder to do. So a player just making that you haven't heard of at the start of the season, that's a big storyline, and it gives fans something else to root for throughout the season. Because like your favorite player, realistically, some people's favorite players this year might not make the tour championship.
Yeah.
Or like you absolutely love that player, you follow him on all social media,
is getting
whatever.
muddied. It is getting very tough.
And the FPO is going to be similar because they also said the Pro Tour remains the right to add players to the play-in tournament based on COVID disruptions. So essentially, if something happened where the Europeans couldn't make it over for enough events to qualify, it seems like that language there is like we reserve the right to like invite them back over if they didn't meet the criteria, but now have a chance to play in the play-in game or play-in tournament. But stuff like that, I mean, it gives you something else to follow along with, something else to be excited about, and I don't know. I like when there's additional storylines that like the average viewer not going to care two rips about. But if you're super into disc golf and you're constantly wanting to follow more, this is something else to get excited about and
100%.
get to follow and get to talk about if you're us.
100%.
The other thing that they fixed, which huge props to the Pro Tour, because the Pro Tour year after year after year proves something happens. They respond to it immediately. If it's fixable immediately, they fix it. If not, they listen to all the feedback. They filter through what's crap and what's good feedback, and then they make changes based on it.
Yeah, the Pro Tour is the example of what all of disc golf should be, and the PDGA struggles with this sometimes, whereas we are still young enough, and especially the Pro Tour, where you make the changes now. Every time there's a problem, change, until you get to one where that everybody agrees is a good solution, and then you stick with it. But they are never afraid to take feedback and make the change without hesitation. They just do it.
What's interesting here, though, is the Player of the Year is the first change that's happened, and that was one that actually wasn't pushed back that hard. Missy Gannon won it when it should have went to Paige Pierce.
Yeah.
But there wasn't like a huge outrage. And so what they did is they took away the fan vote. So the Player of the Year, 33% media vote, 33% tour vote, tour points, 33% average finish at majors and the tour championship. So basically the media is going to have a vote, the tour points are going to weigh in, and then they put weight on majors and the tour championship, the biggest tournaments of the year.
That is very smart, because what happened last year, that was the issue, was basically the media and fans combined. If a player had a good tour championship finish, then all it took was for media and fans. They were the ones that decided it.
Yeah.
And really, Elite Series finishes, or points rather, should be like the biggest thing. So this makes sense. It takes away that possibility.
The media still has so there is still a vote from not from fans, but from the media. But then tour points and majors are all that really matters, because if you do really well there and there, the only thing the media vote's going to decide is if there's two players that are neck and neck that did really well. But if there's two players that are neck and neck, then you're going to have pushback either way. It doesn't matter which one it ends up with. But this allows it to get to two players being neck and neck versus it basically just removes the recency bias.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's what happened with Missy Gannon. Was she had a great season, don't get me wrong, but she was not Player of the Year last year.
Not even close.
And so, but she ended with the Throw Pink Women's Disc Golf Championship win, which was just an A tier. We have to keep reminding ourselves that.
I know.
It felt way more like a major than the U.S. Women's did, but it was just an A tier.
Is that going to be...
Still just an A tier this year.
Still just an A tier.
Yeah, because USW DGC still going on. And then
Pro Tour at least.
And then she won the Pro Tour Championship. So back-to-back wins, end of the year, recency bias, big fan vote, media vote, boom, eliminated everything else, whereas Paige should have won Player of the Year. Paige didn't even win PDGA Player of the Year this year, I don't think. Pretty sure it was Kat. Which is funny because the PDGA released their rankings and who's on top. Shocker, Paige.
Yeah. The numbers checked out there.
Yeah. But regardless, the next thing they updated, this is the one that was
Paige,
the most pushed back.
It was Paige even after not winning Worlds, too.
Yeah.
That should be even more of a...
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing that the Pro Tour updated based on feedback was the Rookie of the Year. So, sorry, everyone. Scott Stokely's not going to be Rookie of the Year this year.
Thank goodness.
The criteria. So, the Rookie of the Year is now going to be given to the player with the highest point total who has not played more than 3 combined Elite Series, Pro Tour Elite Series, National Tour, or major events in a single previous season.
Man, isn't it crazy that all those people that said that they were like, you just don't understand why Juliana... Isn't it crazy that we were actually right?
Shocker.
That the
players,
that Rookie of the Year should mean Rookie of the Year. Yeah, they fixed it.
The other thing too is players who have competed in 2 or more PDGA majors in a single season will also be ineligible. So essentially, what this allows...
This is just the Corver clause, is what you can call this.
Yeah. What this allows is if a player's, because we were trying to last year figure out what is the solution, because you didn't want to go just strictly PDGA rookie, because you don't want to take away where you can't play like local scene,
Right.
Because it should be like a tour rookie, but like it was a confusing thing. So this basically solves it, because even if you go out and play a pro tour, or if you're a local pro and you go play Worlds or something like that, as long as you're just doing like one here, like if you play a pro tour event and a world championship in a year, you're still a tour rookie, as it should be. That makes sense. It allows players to kind of pop in and out. It's gonna be a lot harder to pop onto the pro tour nowadays, and it's also Elite Series. If you want to play Silver Series events, also doesn't count towards it. Great, you can play a full season of Silver Series, not count towards it. Perfect. Only thing that could get weird is if like someone won all the Silver Series events and somehow got enough points to make it to the Tour Championship, and then like, could they still be Rookie of the Year the next year? That would still be fair, because
you gotta just do this
Silver
things
Series
as you go.
Because that's the most unlikely scenario you could think of, is that a player just dominates Silver Series and then ends up.
That would make no sense.
No, but so this allows all of that to take place to where you have a true tour rookie, and they don't get gypped of Rookie of the Year because of Juliana Korver coming in and having a great season. She even herself said she felt like she didn't deserve it, because she's literally the only thing that you can talk about Juliana Korver as being like the greatest player of all time. That was the hardest part.
Yeah.
It's like it wasn't like it was like a player who played some back in the day but wasn't very didn't have a lot of notoriety, and now they're back on tour and won it. It also had nothing to do with her age. It was just that she's a 5-time world champion and one of the winningest players of all time.
100%.
And then she gets Rookie of the Year. So again, great fix by the Pro Tour. They just did what they should have done. They didn't like respond hatefully back and forth with people giving them feedback. They were like, they honestly probably looked at it and were like, crap.
They knew it. Yeah, they knew it.
But they were like, we put these out before the season. There was a loophole we didn't see.
It's the same.
It is what it is. We'll fix it next year.
With all these awards changes, I do like that, they stick to their guns when it happens like that. They're like, they just announce it as it is. They just kind of take it and then they fix it.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
And then the final one that I believe has a little bit of change, but I could be wrong. Actually, I think I am wrong, is the most improved. It's just going to be 50% fan vote, 50% media vote.
I think that's still the same.
Yeah. So that one, I have no problem with the fan and media deciding most improved, because you could, they said the tiebreaker is total Disc Golf Pro Tour points. So yeah, I mean, because like realistically, like the most improved is just like, it's a fully subjective award. So there's not going to be a ton of like, there's going to be debate regardless, but it's not going to be like super heavy debate like Player of the Year or Rookie of the Year is, because most improved is just like, it can mean a different thing to different people.
Right. Exactly.
So like if you look at the stats, that's not going to be the same as like people's feelings about most improved, and is what it is. So, and it also gives the fans something to vote for. So if there's recency bias on most improved, who cares?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's just fan and media vote. So all those changes I think are great, and now we know them going into the year. So all in all, I think it was just like a big week, because it's the week before the start of the tour. So a lot of things had to be announced, the rankings, the updated points, all of that stuff. But now that we have it all in front of us, should make for a very interesting season. I am probably most curious just to see if the PDGA updates it, their ranking system at all. Like if they do make it an average between the majors or something like that. It's not the most criminal thing the way it is. It has pros and cons over the UDisc rankings, but if it's going to be our ranking system for the year, I would like for it to be close to perfect.
Here's the other thing. Does it reset year by year? I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I think the world rankings from the last year will roll into.
Yes, but then like when the numbers come in, are they going to go on to their averages from last year, or is it just this year's averages? Because then it'll be just like you're going to be ranked basically where you finished in the first event.
Yeah, I mean, that might happen for the first event. I don't know what their solution is.
If that was the case, then we wouldn't have accurate rankings until like
I don't know what their
solution.
Maybe that's why it's going to take a little bit to update. Yeah. Maybe it won't update till after the first major.
That's true. I didn't even think about that. In that case, they can't really update until there's like quite a few events under the belt. And that's fine. That's fine.
Maybe it should almost be like the past 12 months.
That's what it should be.
I don't know if that's what it is.
That's what it should be.
I read through it, and honestly, that question didn't even cross my mind.
One drops, one
because
adds,
then like
one drops, one adds.
The only thing that'll be weird is like there's going to be a period. No, there won't be. Well, there'll be a period where Worlds would drop before Worlds happened some years, because it's not always the exact same weekend.
But
you can like make a clause for majors.
Yeah.
But regardless, that would be like Las Vegas happens. So Las Vegas or maybe just do that because it's the same tour event.
It just subs in and out.
Yeah, it just subs in and out.
Something like
First
that.
Pro Tour event.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Like if they just drop everything, it's gonna be like we're gonna have the weirdest world rankings ever.
Yeah, so maybe that's why it's not updating after every event. Maybe that's why they put it that way. It's so that you get some data in because by the end of the year it should be just about the previous season.
Right.
But at the beginning of the year, yeah, that's kind of a weird thing. It's like the college basketball, or any other college rankings.
Well,
the
even
preseason rankings factor in.
Yeah, so they're using precedent from last year.
Yeah, so that way by this point in the season, it's fully just this season. But when you start, you at least have a top 25 that's like coherent and makes sense versus like a team loses the first week and they're immediately like, oh, you have
like, sorry, Duke lost to Kansas, but they're not ranked in the top 25.
but then you might have, because the first few games of basketball season are like nobodies
and stuff. Yeah,
a lot of times.
Well, sometimes
they're playing big games.
Opposite, yeah.
Sure, but a lot of the tours or a lot of the schedule's super weak,
right?
And so you might have like Belmont beat a big name school, and it's like, oh, Belmont's number three in the country. But that way it does that. So hopefully for the PDGA that you're able to do the same thing and just kind of like factor it as it goes.
You just use our rankings.
I wouldn't suggest
as their
that.
precedent.
I wouldn't suggest that.
Why? They're accurate.
I mean, they're accurate to us.
Not statistically proven.
I didn't use much stats. I used my gut.
Yeah, same.